This was for anyone who's played in the Super Bowl in the NFL and now wants to earn a lot of money afterwards. I'm just kidding. I know you guys aren't in the NFL, but our guest today was, and Gary Brackett actually played in 2 Super Bowls, which is amazing. And he's doing wholesale deals now where he made $10,000 on his very first deal. And this is through finding a distressed seller, getting the property under contract, and passing it to a cash buyer who he found originally on his Instagram account. So this is going to be a great story if you like sports, and it's a even better story if you also want to quit your 9-to-5 job and replace your W-2 income and earn more. So we're your hosts, David and Ryan. I created a process that's helped people close 10,000 wholesale deals in all 50 states with a software platform called DealMachine, which gives you data and the ability to reach out to those motivated sellers. And then Ryan, tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, my name is Ryan, and back in 2019, I started a 30-day wholesaling challenge. I left my 9-to-5 job, and in 14 days, I secured my first deal, earning $8,500. Since then, I've gone on to do over 400 transactions in wholesale.
Here's Gary Brackett. So Gary, what did you make on your first wholesale deal? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. It was $10,000. And yeah, it was a nice round figure, right now, round number. And like a lot of you, probably like a lot of the guests, it's just like when the money goes through title company and actually hits your account, you're almost thinking like, is this a prank? This is like,
yeah,
you guys have gone really far to pull this off.
Yeah, it doesn't seem real at all. It's like, wow, that was the ease of that transaction. Doesn't seem real.
Gary, was that in Indianapolis?
Yeah, it was in Indianapolis. And, it was last year. I just been doing this for about a year now. And, kind of transitioning from doing some business coaching to more being a real estate investor. And, 7% interest rates, people aren't really excited about buying homes. So I was going out, meeting some other homes. I heard about wholesale. I didn't really understand what it was. But I met a lady who was selling one home. And I helped her with another team that I was working on. And then she mentioned to me, like, hey, I really like you. I have 6 other properties that I have to sell. Would you like to see them? I said, absolutely. So they're all kind of rained down, all in conditions that, tired landlord type situation. And as I worked through the properties and actually released them to me, I was just, taking my time, getting them dispo.
That's amazing. So you were working with her as an agent first and foremost, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, and then she had like a nice house you helped her sell as an agent, and she liked you, so she was like, well, I got these rundown properties.
Yep.
Now, did you, why didn't you list those on the actual market, or did you?
No, some of them weren't in the condition, you talk about FHA and some of the other restrictions. There's a lot of hoops that you have to go through. Another thing, it was like urgent. She really wanted to get out of the property. She was moving. She didn't really have the time to go through the paperwork. So like getting her a cash offer, and a lot of people have different philosophies. For me, the name of my company I created is All Pro Property Solutions. So I just want to be there to offer solutions to these buyers, right? I have the ability to list your home if you want to go that route, or I have the ability to find you a cash buyer or take it down myself. And, ultimately determined by the seller's needs. And in this situation, she just fit the boxes that, she wanted a cash offer, she wanted a quick, and she wanted to get a move.
That's awesome that you were able to do both, offer her the retail or actually offer her, the cash option, because whenever I'm in that situation, I can't offer them retail. I couldn't sell it for them myself because I'm not an agent. So, but I do like to say, hey, I can get you this cash offer. It may not be the highest and best option for your property, but it will be fast and it will be easy. So it depends on what you want, right? And if they continue forward with the cash offer, I know I've done right by them, but that's cool. You yourself could offer both if you wanted to. So you went from doing no wholesale deals to 6, right? You did 6 in a row?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you find the cash buyer for those?
So the one thing, I played in the NFL for a number of years, 9 years. When I finished, I was buying tax sale properties back in like 2011, 2012. So I had built up a rental portfolio, and I knew a lot of realtors. I've been a realtor for 8 years. So I knew people like online. So I have a pretty big, social media account. So I went on just social media and just, put it out there like, hey, I have a property, who will be interested? And then you just get those DMs like, hey, me. I've now realized, there's a lot safer ways than just blasting it out, to random people. So kind of put some more safeguards in place. But yeah, I met someone who was interested, and then, we are closing in the next 10 days.
Now, what got you into real estate out of the NFL?
Yeah, David earlier just talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I can remember being in college, Rutgers University, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, taking the online classes or the infomercials. And I can remember like ordering the book and going to the library, making copies because I couldn't afford to keep it. And then I sent it back. But real estate was something that I always was interested in. And when I was being an investor, I would be outside the property walking it myself, and I would have to wait for the realtor to kind of come to get me inside the property. And I was like, man, I need to, cut out the middleman in this transaction. I need to go ahead and take my license.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How did you hear about Rich Dad? Yeah. How did you hear about it when you're like, how did you come across the book?
I think in college, at the time, Rutgers University, I was a business econ major. And, I was looking to see like, where can I hang my hat at? Like what's my career going to be? And I've always, I was a big reader. So I think for me, looking at real estate was a very viable option. And then, at the time, I think he had a lot of infomercials like late night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. He'd be on talking about the cash flow quadrant and all the things. So after hearing that, I went and got the book after one of those infomercials.
Yeah. Not awesome.
So for those 6 properties, you said you made $10,000 on one of them?
Yes.
And the first one?
Yeah. On the first one, I made $10,000. Yep.
So I'm guessing if it was run down in Indianapolis, it might have been worth like $100,000. Would that be fair to say?
You know what's crazy? And this is like the education of it, right? So I on that one, yes, 10,000 was run down. So I sold it for like 68. I had it under contract for 58, right? But then the second property I sold was a duplex, and I didn't know how to price a duplex because sometimes duplexes are challenging to price, multifamilies. So I priced it so low, another wholesaler got involved and said he had invested and wanted to buy it. So we did like almost a JV, an assignment where on that one I made 12, but then he made 7.
Wow.
So it was just like, wow, there's a lot of, skin on the bone on some of these properties. And, obviously now being a member of DealMachine, having access to try to find those motivated sellers, I was like, I can make a business model out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you did those 6. That was last year, you said.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a brokerage. You had been doing flips too.
Right.
And so now you're trying to do 2 wholesale deals about a month. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And we're just ratcheting up. I mean, I think everyone's struggle, well, mine's in particular, is just like finding deals that work. And I think being able to offer different exit strategies kind of helps me out in regards to that. So now just finding a great lead flow system with DealMachine, with direct mail, and getting people on the phone and really, solving some of their problems in regards to like either back taxes, probate, whatever situation is, just trying to help them get their house sold.
Got it. And so what is the reason why you're trying to do wholesales compared to doing more flips? And are you still doing flips?
Yeah, I mean, so the flips, it's just a lot that goes into it. I mean, the numbers always sound good, like you can sell it and make $40,000, but then, after construction's run over, it takes a bit longer to sell. It just cuts into that profit. And I think, being an econ major in school, one of the things I always look at with business opportunities is opportunity cost. So it's like, what is my time spent doing flipping one home as opposed to try to sell, a few a month. So I think just in terms of like time and dollar, with that time, wholesaling is just way more profitable for me. A lot less. It's less work, but I definitely wouldn't, hit the easy button and say it's easy, right? I'm definitely not one of those gurus or students of the game that says, oh, man, it's so easy. You can make this money in your sleep. Now, it definitely takes some work to kind of go out there and get it done. but it's definitely very rewarding once you get a deal.
So you said that you found the first person through like a retail client, but now you're using DealMachine to increase your lead flow. There's a lot of different types of leads that you can pull out of DealMachine. Would you mind telling us maybe like top 3 that you're working on right now through DealMachine, such as driving for dollars or tax delinquent, et cetera?
Yeah, I think vacants are big for me. I think, obviously when someone's not in a home, and if it's not their primary residence, I think they're motivated to kind of sell that property. High equity obviously is a good one, right? Because at that point, they have some room to play with in terms to, what they want for the property and what the property is potentially worth. So those two are really key for me. Absentee as well. That goes with vacancy. If it's in an LLC or something like that, kind of skip tracing it, making sure I'm calling the right numbers, the right people. Those 3 I find have been very motivated.
Got it. So do you combine those or do you have separate lists? Like, are you looking for vacant, absentee owner, and, high equity, or are you separating those lists out?
Yeah. So a lot of times when I'm driving, I'm making a list just about what I drove, but then when I go back, I analyze, how many boxes that particular house that I saw checks, and then sending them out for there. But yes, I am getting to a point where I'm separating, each one out because, as you get more mature in the system, I think each problem deserves a different solution. And I think we can customize our direct mail pieces based on someone who's at high equity versus, vacancy versus, absentee owner. So I think that's a really, great, and I could do one-to-one. Like if I just want to send out one piece of mail, I could get that done as opposed to having to send out, 1,000 pieces to people that, whatever's on a direct mail piece may not be, a direct solution to whoever I'm sending it to.
Right. You're saying like you don't have to wait to send the mail. You could send one off immediately.
Yeah. And not only one off, customize it. Like if someone, has a vacant home or if someone has an LLC, tired landlord, I could kind of write that on that direct mail piece. And I feel like, just my time of doing business coaching and everything else, like anytime someone sees a message that feels like it was been custom tailored to them, I think their eyes kind of perk up a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's like one reason why when I started, I wanted to have the photo of the property on there because I thought that would stand out compared to what everyone else seemed to be doing, which was like just a yellow letter or something like that.
Yeah. The photo definitely helps because, the people that are looking at them like, hey, this is my actual house.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it like normalizes you a little bit more because, there's a lot of different lists these people are showing up for, and they're probably getting calls and emails and text messages. Well, probably not anymore with text messages if they didn't opt in, right? They canceled all that. But it's not the first time they're seeing this. But I think the fact that their house is on the postcard, I think they pay a little more attention to it.
Hey guys, if you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom.
Hey, so back to that second deal where you said you had another wholesaler come tell you they had a buyer, and then you JV'd, which stands for joint venture. And I wanted to mention anyone, if you guys need like a contract to joint venture with somebody, we have one at DealMachine.com/JV. It's the one Ryan's used actually, so that's up there. But I was curious for you, Gary, how'd you come up with 12,000 and 7,000 split? Because usually people do 50-50, but it seems like you got the bigger piece of that, which is nice.
Yeah, so I already had, the price based on the duplex and the position. I had it already priced out. So at first, and this is where you gotta have to be knowledgeable because at first he represented it as if like he was going to be like the buyer, right? And then as the transaction went on, then I saw from title like what his assignment fee was going to be, and I was totally cool with it, right? Because the end user still got a great deal,
mm-hmm.
and I think especially last year. Since then, I've been studying a lot more and reading up on it. But sometimes you get into situations where, wholesalers aren't always seen to be the most ethical people, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like transparency. But this dude was transparent with me, and I was telling him like, yo, this is my second time, doing this. And he kind of walked me through it just so I had a little bit of understanding of what was going on.
Got it. Now, it seems like that went smoothly for you guys.
Yes. Yeah, it did.
Did you work with him on any more deals?
We've looked at a couple deals. We haven't actually pulled the trigger on it. Me now, I have investor lift. I have some other situations that I could sell the properties to. So looking at, instead of and I'm not greedy by any stretch, but making another $7,000 off per deal, as you start spending more money on marketing, you start looking at that return on investment dollars. I'm just trying to maximize, those deals as they go out, just so I can have, more money to kind of invest and build a machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it makes sense. So you also said a lot of your buyers came from social media. Then you had this guy bring his own buyer, but you said you've gotten more sophisticated. Could you tell us about that now? Or is there, I guess, was that it when you were talking about investor lift, like being able to, dispo or sell the property through that? Is that kind of everything that you're doing on the buyer side?
No. So building a website, buyandsellindiana.com. On there, I have like a buyer section and a form that they can fill out that goes into my CRM system. So they're not going to have all my buyers and they get to like select their buy box. So then I get to, have, a couple hundred people inside of my CRM with their specific buy box, what area, what zip codes that they're looking to invest in, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, whatever. So I think now, instead of sending that mass email to everyone, I could just, pick and choose 5 or 10 people that I think this would be a perfect fit for. And I think, building those relationships with those investors, I feel like is going to be, the most beneficial thing, because sometimes people will stop buying for whatever period of time. And you need to know that information. And I think even on the front side, it helps you negotiate, better on the deals, knowing that I have a potential end buyer, for that property.
Got it. Does that influence where you market to? Like, you have a lot of people that say they want to buy a house in Fountain Squares. Like, do you go look there, or do you just kind of do your own filtering on the front end in the whole city, just anywhere that's got a vacant house with or absentee owner or something like that?
Yeah, I think being a realtor, I could look up, we do different statistics about, what zip codes are kind of hot in terms of like activity, in terms of homes being sold. And, you kind of, the old adage of go where the fish are. So going to areas that, that are hot being sold. I am, looking at the ideal of going to like, Muncie or Kokomo, a place that's outside of Indiana that has a little bit less competition, just because, like you said, you've been invested here for a number of years, as is a lot of other people. So I think the market is crowded, but, that's with a lot of things. But I think some of these other markets, I feel like you could be more of a, a blue ocean type situation.
Got it. Now, I'm curious, you said you did business coaching before wholesaling. So I'm curious, knowing that many people listening are working to start their very own business, wholesaling as well, could you give us some pitfalls or general advice, or, how would you approach it if the listener was like your actual student? Like what were some important things that you'd want to like lay the groundwork with them?
Yeah. So I got, I long career. I was NFL for a number of years. Transition was in the restaurant business. COVID kind of came, had to shut down, 10 locations. I had 7 franchisees sold. So that after that, I got certified in EOS to be an EOS implementer with the book Traction.
Nice.
So they want to be a franchise model. I didn't want to pay the fees and like be, almost I had to do whatever they told me to do. So I kind of started my own coaching philosophy. One of the things that comes from the book Traction is just having your own like vision traction organizer. So your own VTO. So like what are your goals? What are your objectives? What are your core values? Like what's going to make you unique in terms of marketing? Like, and like treating like a real business. And, I think this thing can be a really, successful, sustainable business, but it's a business. So you have to have some type of metrics you're looking at. You have to have some type of qualities that you stand for, because for me, core value wise, if I'm working with a potential, seller or investor, if they don't match my core values and I feel like there's going to be friction there, like I just move on. And that's one of the things that, obviously I have the luxury of doing, but I just don't want to work with people that, don't fit who I am and who I'm trying to be. It just doesn't feel good as a human. So I like to have those type of things, and those kind of values kind of, help lead me into the right direction.
Yeah, man. I got traction right here, actually.
Sweet.
Books that I've read not too long, like 2 years ago. No, it's been a great book that I've been able to implement. The biggest thing for me was, once you have team members, having the meeting structure that they suggest.
Right.
It's very efficient at making sure everyone discusses the most important topics, but does not get too sidetracked, right? So that leaves everybody feeling like the meeting was very useful, but not longer than it needed to be. And we still use that in my company.
Yeah, I think one of the big things you talked about, business owners, the whole IDS in terms of problems. And I would tell people, and this is where business owners, I think, get it wrong. They go into businesses and don't think that there should be any problems. But really, in reality, like, our value to the customer is our ability to solve problems.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, as a business, you're our problem solver. So your ability to solve problems is what's going to determine, like, how big of a business you're going to build. So I think really having some sort of thought process or structure to solve those problems and work on those things, I think is really helpful in terms of growing your business and really trying to put one together.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
Well, Ryan, I know he's tickled that we got to interview you today because you beat his team that he hates the most in the Super Bowl. Is there any interesting things that you learned in sports that you feel like really help out in your real estate business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the mentality in sports was, good play, bad play, move on to the next play.
Oh, man.
Wait, can you break that down for me?
Yeah, so good play, bad play, move on to the next play. So I was a starting middle linebacker, and, I made my fair share of plays, interceptions, third down stops. But I've also got people who score touchdowns on me, or also missed tackles and those type of things. So in the game, you can't stop and start celebrating because you had an interception in the first quarter, right? Or you can't let a missed tackle and someone scoring you get you down, and now it's going to affect the whole rest of your game. So, like, keep on moving on to the next play. And it's real estate, especially as a realtor all the time, people get excited. You tell people how many deals you close. I'm like, hey, until this thing is like through title, transactions over, like, there's so many things that can happen for a deal to fall apart. You just never really celebrate too soon. So it's always that mentality of like, get up and get after it. And one of the things I love as a coach, and as a speaker, I do a lot of speaking as well. It's just like, fall in love with the process and divorce yourself from the outcome. And the process is showing up every day. If you're selling that mail, send that mail. If you're going to drive for dollars. But make sure you're doing the process, because that's what's going to get you the results in the long term.
Divorce yourself from the outcome, fall in love with the process.
Right.
That reminds me of a sniper rifle meditation shooting exercise I did once, where the CIA guys brought a bunch of business owners to these mountains in California outside of San Diego. And they talked about, we want to fire this bullet through a target that's 1 foot away. And if you remember where you shot and you were aimed the first time, and you look at it and you go and aim for the hole, it's going to come through below the hole you just put it in. So you have to remember the process that you did in the first place, which is where you were aiming the first time, not aiming for the result that you just got. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That it was like an exercise I like never forget, but it was a very similar lesson of what you're talking about, Gary, with sports. So appreciate you bringing that full circle to your experience, which is so cool. And I think that everybody listening will want to follow you on Instagram at Gary Brackett. Is there anywhere else or website that you'd want to lead people to if they want to reach out for either EOS coaching or maybe partnering on a deal in Indianapolis?
Yeah, so my real estate website is buyandsellindiana.com. So on there I have properties, or people can sign up if they want to be a buyer, they're looking. And then GaryBrackett.com is my coaching, my speaking business. That if someone wants me to come out and speak to their team, or someone wants to potentially coach, that's where they'll go find me at.
Awesome. Hey, Gary, one question before we let you go. Since you have experience beating the bears, can you tell me, how do you keep bears out of your backyard?
How do I keep bears out of my backyard? That is a great question.
You paint the goal line around your backyard.
I knew it was some type of riddle.
Riddle. I was like, bro, are there bears in Indianapolis now?
It's funny. I'm from New Jersey, and one of my buddies goes running to North Jersey, and there's bears in North Jersey. And one time I was telling my kids, I was driving to his home to visit him. And, you see a deer on the side of the road. Like, I saw a bear on the side of the road. I think that was the craziest thing ever. But that's funny about the painting the end zone in the back of the house.
We'll end on that. Thank you so much, Gary. And just like I said for Ryan, super happy that we get to be a small part of your success with DealMachine. So thank you again. And I look forward to working with you for years to come.
All right. Thank you guys for having me.
All right. See you, Gary.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.